I would pick up prescriptions for her. I would do all kinds of things. And then I'd say, okay, mom, I'd go into her bank account and I would transfer money over to me. Right.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
sometimes it was like $500. Sometimes it was more. And the problem was it was no big deal while she had a lot of money left. Right. But when you're
Mhm, mhm.
paying close to $10,000 a month, which is what she was in assisted living,
Wow.
your money goes real down the tubes pretty quickly. And when we found that we had to qualify her for Medicaid, guess what? It was a mess. The reason
Mhm.
why it was a mess was because the way it looked on paper to Medicaid as they were going there, you've transferred thousands of dollars over the last 4 years to your daughter, and they do a 5-year look back. I had to go and resurrect all of these bank transfers over to me to justify it, or she's not going to get her Medicaid. What if the best chapter of your life hasn't even begun yet? What lies within you is the power to live brighter, bolder, and truer than ever before. So welcome to Vivatude, where caregiving, connections, and career come into balance, and where your vitality, vision, and voice shines through. Because the revolution isn't out there, it's already within you. Welcome to Vivatude.
Welcome to Vivatude. I am Kate Phillips, your financial and occupational wellness host. I'm here today with Suzanne Newman. You may know her from Answers for Elders. And our topic today is managing finances while caregiving. This is a big collaboration we're doing today, not only with the Vivatude channel. If you're not familiar with Vivatude, we are broadcasting our show and our message and inspiration, practical tips to especially women who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, the sandwich generation, where we're caring for our loved ones, oftentimes our aging parents, and also trying to figure out how to thrive in life while we have all
Mm-hmm.
these extra challenges and responsibilities. We're also collaborating with the Answers for Elders channel today and the Total Wealth Show. So welcome, and welcome, Suzanne. And I'd love to start with a little bit of your story,
Mm-hmm.
managing finances while caregiving. You've had to do this, haven't you?
I did, Kate, and I took care of my mom the last 6 years of her life. And I always say that I was the poster child for everything that could go wrong, did go wrong, because I didn't have proper education or preparation. I didn't know what I didn't know. And what I realized about halfway through my journey when I lost my job due to caregiving, um,
Mm,
I basically subscribed to a spiritual teacher by the name of Emma Curtis Hopkins. And I'm paraphrasing here, but it's basically if you see a job, it's yours.
I
And
love that.
I felt like, I need to do something to help families. And that was now 18 years ago. We started Answers for Elders, and we are now the largest um, podcast and content library on navigating senior care, and not only for caregiving, but now for those boomers in my generation that are actually looking at our own aging, including me. And certainly, we started Vivitude because we have caregivers out there now that are the Gen X, the Gen Y, women out there they are in the shoes that you and I, Kate, were in a while ago, taking care of our loved ones. So it's very exciting
Yes.
to collaborate with you and talk about this very, very important topic.
Well, it's a topic that hits close to home for me as well because, well, right now my mom is in her 90s and we're realizing my brother and we've got to pay a
Mhm.
whole lot more attention to what's going on. This
Mhm.
may be the last year that she manages her own finances. And of course, we've got the family,
Mhm.
finance.
Family dynamics.
Absolutely. And then a number of years ago, I was my father's caregiver and moved him in with me. And he had suffered some financial abuse. We both had financial challenges going on at the same
Mhm.
time because, as you know, that when you're caregiving, you go through your own financial
You do.
challenges. And boy, did I ever, went through a
Mhm.
financial storm and even a foreclosure while my father was living with me. It
Mhm.
was all during the Great Recession, which I like to call the not so great recession. It wasn't
Right.
so for me, but we always have what's going economically, sometimes challenging us as well. So I'd love to, talk about the big picture of caregiving. We think
Mhm.
of caregiving as daily care. We think of it
Mhm.
as helping with meals and transportation and medical appointments. But
Mhm.
one of the biggest, most complex responsibilities that caregivers take on, sometimes, not because they want to, but because they have to, is
Mhm.
financial management. And
Exactly.
we find ourselves having to, navigate bills and insurance and banking, legal documents, and all of
Mhm.
that. I'd love to hear more about, how we can do that
Mhm.
without going crazy.
Right. Right. Well, that's probably was one of my biggest lessons as a caregiver. I didn't know what I didn't know. How I ran my finances with my mom. Uh, I would go to the grocery store. I would go, buy her clothes at the department store. I would pick up prescriptions for her. I would do all kinds of things. And then I'd say, okay, mom, I'd go into her bank account and I would transfer money over to me. Right.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
sometimes it was like $500. Sometimes it was more. Sometimes I bought her things, that were important things. Like, I remember just, going out to dinner and she'd say, well, I want to pay for it. And I'll say, well, I'll pay for it tonight and you can reimburse me. So, and
Mhm,
then if you're starting taking money, like several of those transactions in a month, and the problem was it was no big deal while she had a lot of money left, right? But when
mhm,
you're
mhm.
paying close to $10,000 a month, which is what she was in assisted living,
Wow. Mm,
which was now it's like double now or
yeah,
close to.
sure.
But when you're paying that kind of money every month, your money goes real down the tubes pretty quickly. And when we found that we had to qualify her for Medicaid, guess what? It was a mess. And the
Mm,
reason why it was a mess was because the way it looked on paper to Medicaid as they were going there, you've transferred thousands of dollars over the last 4 years to your daughter, and they do a 5-year look back of,
wow, 5 years.
5 years. So the point is that I had to go and resurrect all of these bank transfers over to me to justify it, or she's not going to get her Medicaid unless, as long as it looks like a gift to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Or it's going to look like financial abuse or looks like you're
correct.
trying to
And
game the
and that's
system.
exactly, Kate. And so, one of the things that we really I learned really, really quick is and probably the number one tip that I would give everyone is when you're taking care of a loved one, tracks every bit of your caregiving finances separately and save every receipt if you have to be reimbursed for something. I always say open up a separate checking account, just a caregiver account, because
Mm,
every
mm.
day, then what happens is that you have a debit card for your mom. Your mom you can transfer $500 or whatever you need for incidentals or expenses or groceries or whatever. Use that account. And now all of a sudden, it's not in your own personal checking account. It's not in your personal bank account, but it's also you have documentation for everything. And yes, you could do it in QuickBooks too, but a lot of times people don't have that ability to, or the talent or the skill to do it that way. Just a simple checking account to
Yeah.
track. And then the other good thing about that is that if your mom has a caregiver, Let's just say, for example, mom or dad, they have a caregiver. They need to fill the car up with gas. They run an errand. You hand that caregiver your debit card. The maximum exposure you have is like $500. It's not a
Yes.
$7,000 or $17,000 checking account balance. So those that right away in finances just as a solid foundation to start track finances separately. Always, always, always.
Yes, and what I'm hearing is that the tool isn't so important. The important thing is that you are writing down how much money are you using, what is the
Hmm.
purpose for that,
Hmm.
so that you can answer whatever questions, whether
Right.
you're using a notebook or an Excel
Hmm.
spreadsheet, and then aligning that with what is coming out of their bank account or
Correct.
maybe a new account that you would establish for them, which
Right.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And, given you, one of the things that you mentioned abuse.
Hmm.
There is a lot of challenges, especially if a senior has dementia or
Hmm.
just or is on the brink. They're a little bit fragile, and some son or daughter might come in, or a niece or a friend or whatever, and talk them into something. And sadly, there's also a lot of scammers out there that can say, I know
Yes.
my mom had some very nice gentleman. I'll never forget this. She goes, I'm so excited. I bought a set of encyclopedias for my niece and my nephew. And I went, Mom, they have the internet. You
Oh my
don't need
gosh.
encyclopedias. I said, How much did you spend on that? $400. I'm going, Mom, you don't
Oh,
the world's changed, right? So
yeah,
the thing
yeah.
is having, when they get to that point and make them still feel empowered, like they can spend money, is
Hmm.
having
Hmm.
that account be not giving the keys to the kingdom and having enough that they feel like if they want to buy something from a catalog, they can. If you need to transfer money over, it's still that neutral account. You really have the ability now that people don't have the ability to take advantage of your loved ones.
Yeah, yeah. My father, he was in Denver for a while. I'm in Washington State, and he had a big
Hmm.
medical emergency. And, I'd heard him talk about his friends and his new girlfriend. And one of them was an old
Right.
time friend who I think had really tried to look after him as best she could. And they had kind of relied on each other, helping each other
Hmm.
out along the way. When I got there, I realized in about 10 or 15 seconds after meeting her that his quote unquote girlfriend was not a girlfriend. She was someone who was using him financially. And it was, he never, uh, there was no convincing him about that.
Yeah.
We just had to eventually take steps to remove him from her life and her from his life, because
Yeah.
she even picked him up from a nursing home and drove him to the bank right after she knew that he got his Social Security so that she could get her cut of it. It was so inappropriate and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
just abusive, but it was, those things do happen, and we do have to protect our loved ones.
Yeah.
Let's talk about family dynamics and money. Money is not always an easy topic for
Hmm.
families to talk about.
Hmm.
And then when you add in caregiving and,
Hmm.
perhaps a bit of, dementia
Hmm.
or these
Yeah.
other things, and you may have siblings in different states. And,
Yeah.
oftentimes there's a primary caregiver or financial manager.
Hmm.
Give us some advice around
Yeah.
this. How can families
Well, let's
navigate?
back up. Usually in a
Okay.
family, there's the stoic, serious one in a
Okay.
family. There's the rebel and the maverick of the family, and then you might have the entertainer or someone that falls in that. The point is, you have different personalities, right? And
Mm,
different values. Every single person, just because you grew up in the same family, doesn't mean that you have the same values, right?
sure.
Um, and so the other side of it is that if mom and dad are either matriarch or patriarch of the family, which usually is what happens, right? Um, everyone jockeys around because they want to have their place in the sun, right? With this person. So let's say, for example, mom passes away, dad is home, he's trying to take care of everyone, that he has a different dynamic with every single one of his children, obviously.
Mm.
He's going to select one person to be the durable power of attorney. Now, what does that mean?
Okay.
What that means is that this is his money. It is
Mm-hmm.
his dynamic of who he chooses to make choices for him if he becomes incompetent, only if he's incompetent to handle his own finances. Until a doctor actually signs over to say that that power of attorney is active,
Mm-hmm.
that power of attorney still has no power unless it's actually activated. Okay, that's number one. That's the foundation of it. So let's say the serious stoic sibling daughter, okay, it becomes the power of attorney.
Okay.
Okay. The maverick and the entertainer are going to go, oh my gosh, now she's in charge of me, right?
Mm.
There's this dynamic of, Mary over here, she's running the ship for dad, and Mary becomes protector. Mary becomes the decider. Mary becomes everything. And that was your father's wishes. One of the
Mm.
things that families forget, and this is where it is at the point, it's not about if you're the other siblings, okay? It's not about you. And that is the challenge because the point that I always say is that, if you're not the it, then you don't have a say. So what
Yeah.
your job is at that point is to
Mhm.
support whoever that it is. Okay.
Mm.
Your job is not to, to challenge. Your job is not to do anything but support their decisions because guess what? They're the ones that were chosen and
Yeah.
let the chips fall where they may. Now, this is what's interesting. Okay. So, for example, if someone is the power of attorney, that does not mean that it is a official position within a family. A power of attorney is an actual fiduciary responsibility with the state or with that is providing you. It is saying that I am officially your attorney in fact, or
Mhm.
a person that is in banking, they call it a attorney in fact, in other types. And so that means that you are actually acting in your father's best interest if you're the daughter, uh, according to the laws of the state. It
Mm.
is an official title of the state. It's a governmental position, right? It
Mhm.
has nothing to do with the family. So when you go in and this power of attorney goes in and it signs, you sign as power of attorney, you put power of attorney or POA after your name when you sign it.
Uh-huh.
The other thing that you have to understand is that it protects you legally to have
Mm.
that. Now, here's one of the things that happens, and just so you understand this whole thing at family dynamics. Um, I had this happen at a family just over here in Bellevue, not too long ago, just a couple years ago, I think it was. Um, the father just added his son to his bank accounts. Okay. Well, father hit somebody in a sidewalk driving his
Oh.
car. Father got sued.
Mm.
Guess what? So did the son.
Oh my goodness.
There was no power of attorney in place.
Oh, because it was a joint account, but not a power of attorney.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
It is vitally important if you are managing funds, whoever that person is, they need to have the legal paperwork, not only for dad. right? To
Mhm,
protect dad
mhm,
and to act on his behalf, but it's your protection. Okay.
mhm, mhm,
And that is a critical piece of this because it also protects you from anything. Like, for example, my mom was, she had a debit card and she was ordering things in catalogs like crazy, just running up her balance. And this is
mhm,
before the power of attorney became active.
mhm.
Then I took it over and I had the credit card company calling me as her power of attorney to get that. Well, she was on Medicaid by this time.
Mhm, mhm.
And I said to the card company, I said, well, first of all, why did you keep raising her limit? You know, this woman is 80 some years old and she has dementia. I mean, I didn't mean to be rude or anything, but she doesn't have the money. And guess what? I didn't
Yeah.
have to pay anything because, again, I was her power of attorney. And
Mhm.
that's the
And
thing.
yeah.
When you have that paperwork in place, that is your protection. Now, the thing
Mm,
that whether if you're a family caregiver, if mom and dad are at home, you're going to be dealing with bills, you're going to be dealing with their care expenses, their co-pays, prescriptions, major financial decisions, like if they're going to senior living or if they need transportation of some sort. Maybe there is a situation where they need modifications to their bathroom to stay safe. All of those things are going to fall on your shoulders. And so
mhm.
to understand that you are their voice, that you are their advocate, that is the piece. It's a big responsibility to take on. So understanding what that document really means. It means that you are their formal advocate, and that document also protects you.
So important. Suzanne, if a senior is still able to do some of the things,
Hmm.
like maybe they're still, grocery
Hmm.
shopping, but maybe the kids are going to take over like paying the mortgage and some
Hmm.
of that.
Hmm.
Does a power of attorney, are they still able to act on their
Absolutely.
own? Okay, so they can still
Absolutely.
act on their own, and then the attorney, in
Hmm.
fact, their
And
POA.
that's where that separated bank account comes because here's the beauty of it. Give mom a brand new bank card, give her
Uh-huh.
$500 at a time,
Yeah.
right?
Give
You
her the
keep the
grocery money.
master accounts, right? And protected. And then whatever happens, if Joe Schmo shows up and tries to tell her that, I'll wash your windows for you, and then he comes back and charges her $700, she doesn't have the money. Your maximum risk is only like $500, right? So what I always say is that is your protection against, fraud, against a
Mhm.
lot of things. And the other thing that is for your protection, or sadly, is the number one source of financial abuse is by family members.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's sad. Not surprising, but very sad.
It's very sad.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so to understand that if you have a sibling that might have some questionable ethics or addiction issues or you know it's real easy to go to a vulnerable parent and cry a sad song and get money.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And what's occurring to me when you talk about like giving them, a bank account or a card with a
Hmm.
limited amount, it's kind of like what we do with children is, they get an allowance and
Exactly.
but
But
there's only so much damage. We,
and
we don't give them their inheritance. We give them
exactly.
an
But
allowance.
here's the beauty of this. We want to allow our parents, number one, they'll always be your parent and you'll always be the
Yes.
daughter. Okay. Allow them their dignity. I
Yes.
would never ever tell mom or dad, no, you can't do this. But
Mhm,
what I
mhm.
will say is, gee, if mom or dad want to go to a play and you need more than $500, transfer it over and or buy the tickets.
Mhm, mhm,
Collaborate, be involved. That's
mhm,
what I'm saying. But if mom or dad want to go to the grocery store, if they want to go out to lunch with their friends or with the senior center and they want to participate in an to go up to see the tulips or whatever that is, and it's a day trip, they have money to do things like that. They don't
yes.
feel like they're at the mercy of, their son and daughter to tell them what they can and can't do. And that therein lies the issue. And that's my belief about how to handle the foundations of finances.
I love that. We're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I'm going to grill Suzanne. She's going to give us more information about the different kinds of power of attorneys and what each can do, as well as more tips about handling finances as a caregiver. Once again, this is Vivatude. Please like and subscribe if you would like more of this content.
And thanks for listening to Vivatude. 4 hosts, 1 each week. We help you revivitude your next chapter because purpose, passion, and prosperity isn't out there. They're already within you. Brighter, bolder, truer. Vivatude.